The witness is a male Chinese national of Kazakh and Uyghur ethnicity. He was detained in 3 camps over a period of 9 months exclusively with other Uyghurs on allegations related to terrorism. In the camps, he suffered ill treatment at the hands of law enforcement officials, including being beaten with various weapons, having his fingertips pierced with needles, and being hanged from the ceiling. The witness in all 3 camps was subject to extensive body examinations where samples of blood and urine were taken, his organs were examined, his irises assessed, and fingerprints and voice recordings made. Blood was taken from all prisoners each month. In one camp, the prisoners were forced to take unknown medicines. In another camp, the witness was held in extremely poor conditions with up to 35 men in a cell, living on a subsistence diet where the witness lost half his body weight. Young men between 16 and 40 with whom the witness was held frequently disappeared from their cells. All the men were forced to re-educate in line with CCP policies. The witness knows of 2 named individuals who died in the camp as a result of torture, and he heard that many died from what the witness has described as being placed in a water prison. As a result of the witness going public about his treatment in Kazakhstan, his brother, sister, and mother, as well as his father, were detained. The witness states that his brother was rendered disabled as a result of treatment during detention, and his father was tortured to death. His mother and sister are said to have suffered. Mr. Bekali, I have a few questions, if I may. Your witness statement refers to 7 to 10 men disappearing out of a cell of about 40 men per week. Can you provide further details on these disappearances?
Maqol, xanımlar, efendiler. Men bugün bu yerda sotda beratgan guvallıqımın hemmisiniki çinliqiga guvallık beraman. Bu yerda men 3 kampda yatdim. Her bir kamerda 45 kishi 35dan 45gacha insonlar birga yetishga majbur bo'ldik. Har haftada eng navqiron bolalar 16 yoshdan 40 yoshga bo'lgan insonlar almış chiqib turadi, qayta kelmaydi ular. Yangi insonlar kelib turadi.
The witness has stated that the men disappeared under a pretext. Was there any pattern as to who disappeared and who remained in their cells?
Maqul. Men nayet bir sağlam bir insan edim. Yani 125 kilogram keladigan salmoqli bir kishi edim. U yerga kirgandan keyin bizni shu sizlar ko'rgandek zanjirlarda bog'lanib, eng ezib qilgan holatdimi ba'zi insonlarniki immunity, sog'lom turish nimasi yaxshilar. Shunday insonlarimiz, ya'ni 16 yosh 40 yoshga insonlar har vaqt g'oyib bo'lishi bu normal ahvolda uning ichida.
Did any of those who disappeared, were they returned to their cells, or was that the last the witness had heard of them? You've referred to detainees being placed in a water prison. Can you describe what that was?
O yerda biz o yerda ularga bo'lgan qarishliklarimiz, bo'ysunmasliklarimiz, 5 xil jazoga uchraymiz. Bu sud turmasi degan narsam, men shaxsan o'zim uni o'chirmadim, ammo o'chirgan bolalar bizga so'zlab berdi. İnsanlarni o yerda sud turmasiga bo'ynin kekcha suvga chilab, bir sudga isib qo'yildi.
And can you tell us who was sent there and how many of the detainees were sent there?
Suturmisi yo'llangan boladan men ikkisini bilaman. Birisi Jur'atchan degan bir enimiz, 26 yosh atrofida. Birisi Amatchan degan bir enimiz. 23 yosh. O aniq esimda Amatchan degan enimiz.
You've stated you gave blood once a month and note that it lasted 15 to 20 minutes. Can you confirm whether the procedure lasted 15 to 20 minutes or blood was drawn for that period?
Bu bizde her ayda başkalarının hemmisini müştaq tuzludur deb bizniki eshikda kichkina bor, ashada xona chiqaramiz. Taxminan bizning farzimiz bu. Uni soat qarab bizning soatmi yo'q u yerda. Mo'lcharda shuni 10 minut atrofida elib beradi. Balki bizning qarshi har bir insonda shunda.
Your statement refers to doctors, teachers and lawyers as being starting to be detained. In terms of profession, do you know what proportion of detainees were professionals?
Şahsen men etrafımda yatkan insanlarını bilişimde iniq esimde var. Qarmay şehri bir neft şehri. O yerda qonun organi işleyen Atavullah degan advokat efendim var. İkinci mektebide o'qituvchilar Tahir muallim degan kishilar bor. Uning ichida hatto savdogarlar bor, cho'ng shirkat ochgan tijoratchilar, restoran ochgan tijoratchilar, har soha insonlarini o'z ko'zim bilan ko'rdim, ham ularni birga yatdim.
I'd like to ask you about the medication you referred to in your statement. Did you have any side effects or reactions from being given unidentified medication?
Bu yerda bizga har vaqt dori berildi, bundan boshqa tomoqlarda zaharlanishlar bo'lib turdi. Uning ichida shaxsan o'zim bir qatim aylanib ketgan. Boshqalarning deyishida menga shunday bir barmoq qo'lning cho'ngligida tabletka berib, men o'shimga ketdim. Anonga yana kechiring. Uning ichida bizni jimg'ur qilib o'tdi. Hech qanday so'zlashni xohlamaydigan, shu nimsa bo'ldi. Bir xil inson bir xil robot adam o'xshashlar bir qolsa buning ichida. Ne so'zingiz kelmaydigan, o'zingiz shu bishingiz qaydigan, o'tirib tilimni tasavvur qilishga o'zim tilim ojizlik qiladi.
My final question, Mr. Bakali, you've indicated in your statement you suffered many forms of ill treatment, and my understanding is you've brought something in today. Perhaps you can explain that for the panel.
Bo'ladi. Hamda sizlar ko'rayotgan bu zanjir amaliyotda men shuning ichida 7 oy 10 kun taqab yashagan narsa. Agar sudya efendimlar buni ruxsat qilsa, mana taqab amaliyotni ko'rsatib qo'ygan bo'l sizlarga.
Chain that
Sizlar qo'ldan lekin taqab hozir ko'rsatdim.
Education, right.
Hanımlar, efendiler, bu sizler korumaktan şu 7 kilogram etrafı kilidi bu. En vakit şu takılan zincirler. Şundan halatta 7 ay 10 gün aşlaşıp ötküzüp, ben onu zarak bağladım. Ben tutumsuz tek olmaydı. İşte tek adamda düşmeyeceğim, mecburunu şu an içinde.
Can the witness tell us how he was able to get these particular chains himself?
Ben onun için ertay 10 gün bu takılan derse, ben bunu Kazakistan'da takap çıkarışka hayatımı tetmiştim. Vakıf Türkiye'de vaktada Türkiye'de satıladı. Bütün o zincirlerin dünyanın her yerde okşaş.
Good morning. Can I start by going back to the beginning of your statement? And you say that in 2006 you decided to leave Xinjiang and move to Kazakhstan, the nationality of your father. What were the circumstances? You talked about, I think, injustice and discrimination then. What were the circumstances in 2006 that caused you to leave?
Ben 97-yili Eglik Başqaruş Kaspi Üniversitesini bitirib Beijingda qarmay xizmatga o'rinlashdim. Lekin mening o'qigan kasbimga oid xizmat bo'lmasdan bir shopurlik xizmatiga erishdim. Keyin bizniki bu yerda xizmatlardagi maosh taqsimoti, yaxshi xizmat o'rinlarida yüzünüzge Uyghur ve Kazaklarını kamsitib turib, yaxshi xizmat ve yaxshi maosh taqsimotlar hech qachon berilmaydi.
So you moved to Kazakhstan and then travelled extensively between PRC and Kazakhstan. Did you ever have any reason to believe that you were at risk of being detained when you made these travels, as you were in 2017?
Yo'q.
No.
When you were first detained, you were taken from a police station to a hospital and had a medical examination. You say in your statement that you were worried that that was going to lead to organ extraction. Why was it that you thought that was a possibility?
Chunki men o'zim Qozog'istonda tijorat qilayotgan vaqtlarimdami, men o'zim o'qigan kasbim shu sayohat va ilk boshlash kasbi bo'lganligi uchun bu qiziqaman axborot nimasirdagi yangiliklarga nimalarga qiziqib turaman. Shu sababdan men faollanuvchilarniki organlarning ilinayotganligi, hatto bizniki shu burun endi og'ir jinoyatlar kesilgan Uyg'ur qarindoshlarimizniki ashuna o'ltirilib tashlanib turmalarda jastin vermaydigan ahvollardan xabarim bordi. Men shu tashaga vaqtida üntinsiz ovoz chiqarmasdan har vaqt atrofimda 2-3 kishi insonni birga olib men bishim qarqaltib ishni bilmayman. Shu o'zlari kiyimlarimni soldirib majburiy shunday tashlashni o'tkazishida eng oxirida shu kiyimni yalang'ochlab bir narsalarni surib tashlagan vaqtida men yuraklarim do'pildab ishdan siyrakli tas qolgandim qo'rqinishdan.
But do you know what the basis then for that very thorough medical examination was, why it was done?
Biz xuddi Qotandagi qo'yga o'xshab qolgan bir millat bo'lganligimiz uchun ular mana hozir sizlar ko'rayotgandek xalqarada qo'rqmasdan halol organ tashviqotdan endi qilyotdi. Bizni anandan yana bir ish qiyin qistoq olgan vaqtidami bizniki mana shu ichki organlarimiz qattiq ziyon zahmat o'chirmagan holatda qiynaydi.
When you were first detained, you were told, I think, that you had committed terror-related crimes. Did they explain what the basis for their view was, and did they produce any evidence that you had been involved in terror-related activities?
Bu to'g'risida menga hech qanday tushuncha berilmadi. Faqatlam mening o'zimning iqror qilishimni, ularning meni qo'lga olishlik sababniki 3 xil jinoyatni ortib turib qo'lga olibdi. Shandong Kongbu Fenzi tashviqot qilish terrorlikqa, Zugzhi Kongbu Fenzi tashkillash terrorlikqa, Uyghur Tribunal davlat parchash o'rnigan degan jinoyat. Yana birisi aniki bu kishi Kongbu Fenzi terrorchilar qanot ostida olgan degan bu jinoyatlarni otgan jadvalga qo'l qo'yishga majburlandim men. O'zim iqror qilishni talab qildi, qiyinchilikqa ilib, anharda shu jinoyatlarga qo'l qo'yishga qiyinchilikqa uchradim. Menlar emas kirganlarning hammasining qo'liga ashna narsada majburlandim ekan, u yerga kirganlar har qandayniki.
Now, in the camp, you explained that as an education camp, there was education for detainees. Could you just say something briefly about the nature of that education?
Bu lagerlash ajiba mendek bir şirketniki muavin direktori bo'lgan insonga o lagerlarda dars o'rganishim va yoki kasb egilishimning ehtiyojim yo'qdi. Hatto meniki agar asin kampda o'ltirilgan dadammi hukumat ishlab pensiyaga chiqqan bir insonni o'ltirildi. Ularning atalmış narsalar hamsi saxta, yolg'on.
You say that when you were in the camp, you were visited by Kazakh diplomats as a Kazakh citizen, and they explained to you your rights. What rights did they say that you had?
Menga ularning tushuntirishida birinchi haq-huquqim ular meni jismoniy emgakka sololmaydi ekan. Ikkinchisi og'rib qolsam davolaydi ekan. Shu vaqt tanqimni vaqtida berdi ekan. Bu mening haq-huquqim ekan.
And did you explain to the diplomats the nature of the treatment that you'd had inside the camp?
Mumkin emas. Uning aldiga chiqishda ular qattiq tahdid qilib turib, agar yashagan bo'lsa, sen bu yerda yotgan bo'lgan ishlanishqanligini demaysan deb, men hatto zanjirlarni et tashlab, qo'limga qo'yishni salgan holatda chiqqan.
Did you detect any different treatment as a Kazakh than the treatment that was being given to the Uyghur detainees?
Bizning his qilishimizda burunqi vaqtlarda jamiyatda va yoki turumdan ishlatib bo'lsin, azroq bir bo'libmi Uyg'urlarga qaraganda boshqa millatlarga azroq bir farq bordi. Lekin men 2017-yil men o turmga kirgandan keyin farqi yo'q. Chet ellik deganligim uchun, men chet ellik meni menda muomala qilishinglar haqqinglar yo'q deganim uchun bir oy shu men 6 kvadrat debdim, men 3 kvadratlik zindonda yetishga majbur bo'lganman, yolg'iz kishilik zindonda.
When it came to the approach of your release, you were asked to sign or required to sign conditions for release. What were those conditions?
Ularning shartlari, men uning ichida ko'rgan tatqan bu zulmlarni, bu ichidagi ichinishlik ahvollarni hech qandag'ini hech kimga hatto o'zimning uydagilarga tinmaslik. Agar normal hayot yashash imkoniyati erish uchun bo'ladigan bo'lsa, yoki ota-onamni ko'rib kelish imkoniyatiga erishmoqchi bo'lgan bo'lsam, cho'qim ovozimni qat'iy chiqarmaslikning ustida shartni qo'yib turib, imzo attirdi bular.
And my last question is about your family. Your family stayed behind, didn't leave the country like you. There's a dispute, as the council team said, over the conditions in which your remaining family are living at the moment. And I just wonder if you could explain the basis for your belief, the statement about their treatment here, as opposed to the Chinese government's treatment, which is that they are living normal lives in China.
Bizniki ailemiz sizlarnikiga o'xshash nihoyat baxtli bir oila edi. Lekin shu lagerga men solinib, buni dunyo anlatgandan beri bizning oilalarniki men, atam, rahmatlik anam, singlimning hammasi ularga nisbatan bir terrorchi oilasi aylanib bo'ldi. Amaliyotda biz normal bir insonlar edik.
And how is he able to find out about their current
xabar yo'q. Aloqamiz o'zgarib qolib o'tdi.
During the period of your detention incarceration, please could you describe some of the ill treatment, torture as you've alleged in your statement, that you suffered and or witnessed others suffering?
Fakat ismiga olib yo'q ama o'zlab biray. 4-oyning 3 kundan 7 kunigacha yig'irib inqisoflar o'jirdim 4 kunduz. 4-oyning 3-dan 7-kunigacha 2017.
Yes.
Eng dastlabda yo'lbos o'rindiqqa o'ltirg'izilib, rizqi kaltak, tokkattaklar bilan qattiq urildim. Mana shundaq Qarmay shaharlik Jaranbuloq saqchilarining yarasida uyida mana shunday holatda bu Google'dan ilingan suratlar apandilar to'g'ri tushunishni umid qilaman. Keyin mundaq isib qo'yib, shu meniki butunlay kassam, dumbam, shu buljun go'shtlarim putniki, hatto beton o'tqizib turib tapanimga shu yog'och qaltaklar bilan, sim qamchilar bilan eng vahshiy usulda qiynadi meni. Ularning vahshiy qiynashlariga qarab to'xtamasdan, yarim soat, hatto 1 soat urib qiynashlardan, mola insonmi, emasmi deb o'ylanib qolasiz.
You heard regarding the Karamay camps that all government ethnic minority employees were to have re-education, and that this was a directive from the central government. What do you mean by the central government? Who are you thinking of, or what are you thinking of?
Men buni yerdan tushmadimmi, men onun da mening xabarim yo'q. Men buni unda arzimli xatolik o'xshaydi. Men shu adolatsizliklarni, shu Xinjiangga degan Xitoy qilyapti deb o'ylab, Beijingga berishni o'ylagan, ammo atamning nasihati bilan men undan yanıq voz kechgan. Bu Xitoylar qo'li ichik iludi bilan u yuqoridan kelmasa, bu ish bo'lmaydi deb meni to'sigan Beijingga berishimdan.
Can you elaborate on that connection between Beijing and the region in northwest China?
Mening atam rahmatlik 30 necha yil shu hukumatga xizmat ishlab pensiyaga chiqqan bir inson. Bu hukumatning qandaq soxtibas, qandaq rangvas, aldamchi ekanligini biladi. Har qandaq bir buyruqning o'sha markazdan kelganligiga oid hujjatlarning hammasini xizmatlarini ishlagan. Shu sababdan atam buni 5 qo'lda biladi, yaxshi biladi.
So you're talking about the Politburo here.
Bizning nazarimizda biz uni ichki nimsida ishlamagan ekan, Jongyangdan keladi deymiz. Markaziy hukumatdan keladi bu buyruq deb bilamiz. Uni biz inchiklab ish kirib, kimdan keladi, qandaq uni qonun organlari baholamasa biz uni bilmaymiz.